No one cares about movies anymore. No one goes to the cinema. No one really watches network TV. Everyone's watching Netflix. This show should just be me coming out going, well done, Netflix, you win everything. Good night. But no, we've got to drag it out for 3 hours. You could binge watch the entire first season of Afterlife instead of watching this show. That's a show about a man who wants to kill himself because his wife dies of cancer. And it's still more fun than this, OK? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way. So in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself. Just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care. You had to make your own way here in your own plane, didn't you? Right.
Do you solemnly swear to testimony about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Could you please give us your name?
Jeffrey Epstein.
Do you regret the relationship that you maintained with him against Melinda's advice and wishes?
Oh, I've said that you're going way back in time, but yeah,
New audience.
I will say for the, over 100th time, yeah, I shouldn't have had dinners with him.
Epstein had a way of sexually compromising people. Is that what Melinda was warning you about?
No. I mean, No, I had dinner with him, and that's all.
And that you regret the relationship, the acquaintance?
That I had dinner with him.
And the relationship between the Foundation and Epstein?
There never was any relationship of any kind.
Can you follow up the allegation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein?
There is a house in New Orleans they call the rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy, and I know I'm one. My mother was a tailor. She sewed my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man down in New Orleans. Now the only thing a gambler needs is a suitcase and a trunk, and the only time he's satisfied is when he's on a drunk. It's been the ruin of many a poor boy, and God, I know I'm one. God, I know I'm one.
I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison for what she, Jeffrey, and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was raped repeatedly. I was raped 3 times a day sometimes. And I was not the only girl on that island. There was a constant stream of girls being raped over and over and over again. And yes, Ghislaine must die in prison because I've been in hell and back for the last 17 years.
And 27 for me.
I was 10 years old when Liz Stein was being trafficked. I was 10. That is how long the sex trafficking ring has been going on.
So while everyone was concerned with Little St. Jeff's, Jeffrey Epstein's island, it's called Little St. James, but he liked to call it Little St. Jeff's because he's weird. Anyways, we totally missed Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. There's some weird-ish going on over there.
If you're rich, powerful, and committed to doing something sketch, this area of New Mexico is for you. And that's exactly what Jeffrey Epstein did back in 1993.
A little over 80 miles northwest of Zorro Ranch is Trementina Base, a bunker and bulk complex owned by the Church of Spiritual Technology, an elite order within Scientology. Roughly 50 miles from Zorro Ranch is one of the 2 treatment facilities that the Catholic Church has to hide out priests who have abused children. This treatment facility is run by fellow priests who belong to an organization called Servants of the Holy Ghost. Then we have the Arm & Hammer United World College of the American West, a selective international boarding school in Montezuma, founded by Arm & Hammer and Prince Charles. Who remembers Prince Andrew's involvement with Epstein?
Besides the alleged essaying and human trafficking that went on at Zorro Ranch, Epstein pretty much let his mad scientist freak flag fly wild, flap in the wind, because he was into things like eugenics, pyrogenics. He even said to a New York Times reporter that this is where he hoped to spread his seed to over 20 women at a time by impregnating them, because his DNA was superior and he believed the world should be blessed with it.
First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air.
That's tape leaked to us by our latest network insider. This brave insider works at ABC News. ABC News anchorwoman Amy Robach is talking to her producer on a hot mic. She says she had the Jeffrey Epstein story 3 years ago, and her bosses at ABC News spiked it.
And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal.
Our insider told us this tape was recorded earlier this year in late August, a day or so after this NPR report came out sharply criticizing ABC News for not broadcasting the Robach Jeffrey interview years ago.
ABC has episodically covered the scandal, yet the interview was never broadcast, and Jeffrey says she was never told why.
Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying, there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. I had it all 3 years ago.
But the creepy thing is that we would make access to all of these high-profile people.
Well, then I got a little concerned about why I couldn't get on.
On the leaked insider tape, Amy Robach says she had the Jeffrey Epstein story 3 years prior, but her exclusive interview was shelved. Robach says in the leaked tape there was a lot of pressure from Buckingham Palace. According to NPR, the famed lawyer Alan Dershowitz also pressured the network to kill the story.
Shortly before the interview was due to air, Harvard emeritus law professor Alan Dershowitz called the network. He was also one of Epstein's lead defense attorneys.
We wonder if the story was killed to protect the rich and powerful. It seems few were worried about protecting the women who may have been Jeffrey Epstein's victims. Remember, Epstein was still a free man 3 years ago. And just to be clear, the interview has still not aired. What is ABC News waiting for, or who are they still protecting?
She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything.
Robach also has no doubt about what happened to Epstein when he finally was arrested and jailed.
So do I think he was killed? 100%. Yes, I do. Because he made his whole living blackmailing people. Yeah. There were a lot of men in those planes, a lot of men who visited that island, a lot of powerful men who came into that apartment.
When I heard he was found in his cell selling money,
I knew immediately. And they made it seem as though he made that suicide attempt 2 weeks earlier, but his lawyers claimed that he was roughed up by his cellmate around the neck. That was all to plant the seed, and then that's why I really believe it. Really believe it.
The last of the leaked tape has Robach talking about alleged Epstein conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell and how she should be very careful.
got to have left evidence, like, in the, you know, unexplained.
Well, Ghislaine Maxwell, who I had all sorts of stuff on her too. I love it. I'm like, it's so funny to hear everyone say her name now, because I'm like, oh my God, like, I had all the, and everyone was like, who's that? Who cares? I kept getting that. Who cares? She knows everything. She knows. She should be careful. Well, she was his, like, she went out and recruited all of these girls.
Stand by.
She should watch her back. Because if she goes, I mean, I'd have, like, security guards all around me.
The brave insider who leaked this tape to us does not know who at ABC News spiked the story, but someone at ABC does. Our question: who killed the Epstein story at ABC News and why? Help us find out. James Goldston is the president of ABC News. What did he know? And when did he know it?
The Jeffrey Epstein Island has one of the most disturbing histories in America. Nobody really knows the full truth behind it. The island was owned by millionaire Francis Sheldon. Him and a number of local men from Michigan, including this guy, Gerald S. Richard, ran a boys group on the island. So what would they do? They would fly kids on this airstrip to the island. Parents were told that the island was for fun and for the kids to relax. Keep in mind that this camp was literally ran for years. Well, eventually the kids started telling their parents that these counselors or teachers were actually behaving in very inappropriate ways to them. The kids were then told to go into these cabins where the counselors would tell them to take their clothes off and would even assault them.
A former swimsuit model for Sports Illustrated is alleging that Donald Trump groped her 31 years ago, moments after they were introduced to financier Jeffrey Epstein. Stacey Williams went public with the allegation after learning it would be included in a new documentary about the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Williams says Epstein, whom she was casually dating at the time, took her to Trump's office in New York when she was 25. She says Trump, who was 47 at the time, immediately put his hands on her and Epstein watched.
The second he was in front of me, he pulled me into him, and his hands were just on me and didn't come off. And then the hands started moving, and they were on the, on the side of my breasts, on my hips, back down to my butt, back up, sort of then, they were just on me the whole time. And I froze.
A spokeswoman for the former president depicted Williams' allegation as a false story that was, quote, contrived by the Harris campaign, end quote. There's no proof of that. Williams is the 27th woman who has accused Trump of sexual misconduct. Last year, a jury found the former president liable for sexually abusing writer E. Jean Carroll.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
And I suspect there were people over whom he had something involving the sex stuff. Now, the rest of us, we didn't know anything. There were no young women around when I was there as his lawyer. There were no pictures or anything of that kind. But once he was convicted, then a lot of people continued to hang around him. I had nothing to do with him once he was convicted. Yeah. I knew what he had done once I was his lawyer, and so I had nothing further to do with him. But other people continued to have things to do with him, and that's a real question. I don't think we yet know why, for example, Leslie Wexner allowed him to have counsel rights over all of his money, or other people like that. I think there's a lot yet that has to be known. He did lead completely secret lives. People who knew him early on, like George Mitchell and other people like that, I don't think they knew anything about his secret life. He kept it a complete and total secret. He had a special area of his house that nobody was allowed near. And but once he was convicted, people should have known, and they made judgments. Some people did it for entirely innocent purposes. He met with Fidel Castro. I was once at Caroline Kennedy's house. This is a name-dropping story. Having dinner with Bill Clinton. And he was president, and the Secret Service came over to Clinton, gave him a phone, and he went away for about 20 minutes. And then after the 20 minutes, he came back and handed me the phone and said, "It's Jeffrey Epstein. He wants to say hello."
If you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these, would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there, because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others.
Did you ever have a chance to meet Epstein?
No, I did not know him.
Okay. And with Epstein, you hear stories with him, with the people that went to the, what do you call this? The Epstein Island, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think happened there? And what do you think is going on right now? You're saying that one of the reasons why you don't believe Epstein's list is going to come out because some of them may have been Trump's friends.
Well, not just Trump or the Clintons or anyone that's in office. But I will say the difference between the two entities, Diddy and Epstein, are you're talking about super powerful political figures internationally from, there's rumors of Trudeau, there's rumors of, these are presidents, premiers, prime ministers. These are very, very ex-presidents. So, and we're also, there's something to be said. So if I show you, let's say me, okay, and I'm, Tom Cruise size, I'm a huge A-list actor, and you show me having a gay relationship that's on film, me having sex with some other man. Now, again, as a leading man, is that going to be damaging the box office? Is that going to hurt my credentials? Is that going to say anything about the children that I had? And what's that going to do to me? But again, if you denied it and said that it didn't happen, then it comes out and they show videotape of it. I guarantee that thing sells off the chain. People want to see that. But that's way different than saying that you had sex with an underage boy or girl. That's illegal. Okay, so what happened on Epstein's Island, the things that are rumored to have there are underage girls, really young too, like 12, like young girls that are testifying now, I was there, I had sex with this. Those are illegal activities. And also, America, even as wild as we can be here, and let's go to Vegas, with the wildest of the wild, they don't accept that behavior. That's going to be one that's going to be a tough one to outrun that bullet. So the Epstein stuff, I think, is far more serious than getting your freak on it with Diddy and doing the things that they did over there. Unless there's underage people involved in that. I think that's a different category.
Do you know, without naming names, do you know specifically people that were on that island who are, who you spent time with or you knew in Hollywood?
For sure.
And have you heard vivid stories of what took place on that island?
I have been with people that I have told me. Again, like Hollywood isn't a place that people shoot their mouths off and tell things that aren't true. But I know people that have told me either secondhand or that they themselves had been there. And remember too, I don't think that everyone went there knowing what was going to happen. I think people went there going, we're going to this great island. This guy Epstein's doing a movie or whatever. They get there and they go, oh, she's beautiful. Yeah, she's kind of interested in you. And I'm paraphrasing. She's kind of interested in you. If you want to go get a massage, well, she looks very young. And so if you had any conscience, you would say, yeah, no, I'm not doing that, or no, I'm married, or no, I'm, or whatever the reason was. Then when the girl gets in there, let's say you're even stupid enough to go in the room, and the girl goes, I'm 14. You should get up and walk out of the room. She might have been all dressed up, and you thought she was 20, and you thought you were going to have a fling. Once you found that out, because that's part of the allure of it, that you want to be with an underage girl or underage boy. Once you found that out, now if you stay in the room, you've asked for trouble, and you're about to get trouble because he had a camera hidden in the room, and he has all kinds of videos, supposedly, of those events. Now, what does that look like if that came out 8 years ago and Hillary Clinton's husband was involved? What does that look like if Donald Trump was involved? What does that look like if Tim Walz was... Again, you could shape the direction of a country based on having the wrong person in one of those videos. And I believe those types of influential people are involved in this, which is why you probably will never see them, because they will do everything. Look at when they raided Diddy's house. Did you ever see the footage of them walking out with the raid? They got like 2 boxes about this big. That was it. That was the whole raid, was to take those 2 boxes? Or was that whole raid to keep Sean Combs in the news because a lot of other stuff was going on at that time? Yeah, look, that was it. That was when you came with, National Guardsmen and SWAT guys with the 2 sons walking out with their hands up, and for that whole giant estate, which is like 4 homes, and I don't know, something doesn't match up with that. Something just doesn't match up.
Partying, was it like as crazy and intense that you would imagine it to be? Was it pretty wild?
Yeah, I mean...
Cher's house, all these,
Yeah, man, you walk into China Club and they've got, armed guys walking you in up to the VIP. They walk up to people who have all kinds of money. They've been spending money. Move, and they move them off the table, and you're just sitting there like this, smiling at the guy, at his wife, at his girlfriend. It was surreal, So
who was the wildest guy you met? Where you're like, damn, I was just invited to this person's party. Who was?
I would always say, if I write the book, right? If I write the book, now you tell me this, you obviously probably know this more than I would. If I write the book and I say, so I go to the door in the hotel and I open the door and there's so-and-so and I name him. His name is Charlie. So I go to the door and I say, and Charlie is waiting me with, the 2 girls and we end up going in the room and it's on for 3 straight days. No one sleeps. Now, if I don't say the guy's name, and I say, and another A-list actor or another guy or another, does that book sell the way it is if I say the guy's name?
No.
Of course not.
Yeah.
So if I write my story, the names, this is kind of like, not Epstein kind of stuff or P. Diddy, but the wild, 2 girls and 3 guys and the stuff that I saw, when I'd be at someone's house. There wasn't anything illegal besides maybe some of the paraphernalia that was being used drug-wise, but I saw some wild stuff like that. And I was pretty naive to it because do you want to be with Angela and so-and-so? And I go, no, why would I want to be more than one? I'm like, I only have 2 hands. And so I never did any of that. I never, did that kind of freaky or wild stuff, but I definitely, put myself in situations that were high risk because of, look at Charlie now, Charlie Sheen, Charlie's has AIDS and I think he's doing well, but, I definitely hung around with that crew, a lot of those guys in the late 80s and early 90s and, a lot of big NBA basketball players that I went to parties at their homes and, where it was on, it was wild.
I remember one time Magic told a story. He's seen that Magic interview where he says, so what was it like? He says, 10, 12, 14 girls at a time.
Yeah.
Have you seen that interview?
I haven't seen that interview, but I've been to parties where you went into the hot tub and they just all had their clothes off and you could, it was Babylonian, I called it. When you look at the stuff that they depicted that happened in Babylon and everything, fortunately for me, that just never did anything for me.
9 East 71st Street is an extremely historic address right in the middle of New York City. It's the center of a web of a international operation to blackmail not just U.S. government officials, but also top scientists. It's the home address of Jeffrey Epstein and his 7-story sex dungeon palace. InfoWars has been on Epstein's trail for more than 15 years, and the web that emanates out from this address doesn't just control the United States, but many nations across the world. In this investigation, we're going to be bringing you some of the latest information on what the death of Jeffrey Epstein really signifies and the fact that the networks he controlled are still operating today. How many men transporting underage girls came to this keypad and entered the code so that this dungeon door would open? Queen Elizabeth II's son, the Duke of York, or Prince Andrew, was famously caught repeatedly creeping in and out of those doors with young women going in and out. That's how powerful this web of control is. And then when you research Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend and the fact that her father worked for British intelligence and the Mossad, and the fact that he was involved compromising members of the British aristocracy, you understand that this was a family business the entire time. The corrupt system has tried to hide the horrors that have gone on in here. They've tried to block it behind these codes and these big doors. But you and I have blown this thing wide open. So the big question is, what's more evil? Skull and Bones? Bohemian Grove? Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile sex dungeon? Or the larger system that controls it?
Top right, we've got Q drop 3140. The picture underneath that, the camera footage from Epstein Island, is included in Q drop 3140. It says, Epstein Island dungeon, beneath the temple, sex and torture rooms, openly flaunt across social media, untouchable ? Sign Q. So this image was openly flaunted across social media. These people, they thought that they were untouchable. Q drop 959, originally posted March 21st of 2018, says, down she goes. Now, who is she a reference to? Most people believe that that's a reference to Hillary Rotten Clinton. Nobody escapes this. Nobody. Next is drop 3134, originally posted March 20th, 2019, so another upcoming 3-year delta. It says, who is Rachel Chandler? And then we get this image in 3136. There's your image of Rachel Chandler. You can also see these additional images posted by Q. These are all in the 3130s. We've got her in the lower left with one of the members of the Olsen family, one of the Olsen twins, and then the upper right with P. Diddy or Sean Combs. He's a rap artist. So 3136 reads, Chandler equals child handler. So you see what they do there? Q says, these people are sick. If the records become unsealed, and they will, much will be revealed. Watch the news for Rachel Chandler. Sign Q. In the upper left-hand corner is Q drop 3137, also posted March 20th, 2019. It includes this photo of Rachel Chandler, think child handler, with Eminem. Q says, this one case has the ability to bring down the many rich and powerful people. Those who scream the loudest, blank, and the answer is have the most to hide, sign Q. So he's referring there to Eminem. Eminem is very vocal and outspoken against our favorite president. He's against our favorite president, and our favorite president is against crimes against humanity, crimes against our children. And Q is implicating Eminem right now by saying those who scream the loudest have the most to hide. So Eminem certainly has lots to hide. Incidentally, his name is also on the Epstein Island flight logs. Q drop 3155 includes a number of images, including the image that you see on your screen now. Q says, keep digging, Anons. Rachel Chandler is the key. Sign Q. And then under that is Q drop 3156, where Q says Rachel Chandler equals Allison Mack times 100. Sign Q. Now, if you recall, Allison Mack is from the Nexium sex cult, and she was deeply involved in human smuggling, child sex trafficking. And Rachel Chandler is as bad as Allison Mack, only times 100. So to the left, we've got this one case has the ability to bring down the many rich and powerful people. And Q just gives us image after image of these political elite, these Hollywood stars, all intertwined in this child sex trafficking ring. Consider Q drop 3159 in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. It says, who did Nikki Hilton, sister of Paris, marry? ? And the answer is James Rothschild. Sign Q. Underneath that, we have a picture of Rachel Chandler. And I know sometimes it says Ray Chandler. Rachel Chandler's nickname is Ray. So there she is on the bottom of your screen with one of the Rothschilds. There she is with Paris Hilton in the middle of your screen. Upper right with Prince Andrew. Under that with Bill Clinton. And then you've got on the right-hand side of your screen, Britney Spears.
I was sold to a man that I knew as Louis Valou. And I feel okay using the name because I'm pretty sure it's a pseudonym. I very much doubt it's his legal name. But this guy named Louis Valou was essentially part of organized crime in Lower Manhattan in Chinatown. And he was one of my handlers growing up. And I had a very intense relationship with him on many levels. There was a period where he was grooming me essentially to take his position. And
in the mafia then?
Essentially, I mean, I'm not totally clear on the details, but it's some aspect of the mafia or organized crime. And I had to do a lot of physical violence towards other children as part of his initiations. And some of that culminated in public death matches, cage matches with other children in Chinatown for paying audiences.
How would an audience, I mean, this must all be inside the network. I can't imagine that there'd be something like that anybody could ever figure out, and it's happening right downtown.
I'm imagining the invitations were very exclusive, yeah. I strongly doubt any random people would find out about it.
And what kind of places would this even happen in?
All sorts of venues.
Really?
I mean, to be honest, I was often drugged and blindfolded and taken to these places, so it's often hard to say where exactly they are. I know some of them are in wealthy enclaves outside the city, like in Westchester County, upstate a little bit. I was taken to places like that. But then there are also versions of it that happen right in Chinatown, just in basements in Chinatown, which is, it seems like just some sort of racist fantasy that someone would have, but it really does happen there.
And the idea that you would want to go and see two children fight to the death, that it could only be network, where the people that are really in it and believe in it, they don't even see a child in a child. They don't even see what a child is. They just see creatures that are below them or something.
That's true. Like cock matches, like animals fighting. Pretty much like that.
Except more exclusive.
More exclusive, more expensive, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you did tell me that you saw some prominent people present at some of these events.
Yeah. There different politicians would show up sometimes, actors would show up sometimes, and a lot of the really wealthy people who are anonymous would show up, of course. Some of them, I still don't know their names, but people in positions of power within the cult. I've been thinking through, different names and if I want to name people and
totally fine, and we can cut it out if you change your mind. Also, that's no problem. But also, let's just let me ask you: is it like when we're talking about levels, right? Is it like on the local level? Is it on the state level? Is it on the national level? Is it on the international level?
It's on every level. Yeah, I think I saw people who I didn't necessarily know, but I understood them to be prominent people of other countries, international politicians and leaders, definitely. There are Catholics who participate in this practice.
You mean clergy?
Yeah. There were Jesuits specifically. Many different kinds of. There were officials from abroad. Some of my ancestry is Hungarian, and there were people who I understood to be some basically high-ranking Hungarian politicians who would be there, who were particularly interested in my career as a fighter, apparently. There seems to be a very established practice of these kinds of things. I almost died several times,
of course.
Naturally.
Of course, yeah.
Had my scalp ripped off of my head almost entirely, and had to recover from that. You
mean you have weapons?
Usually not, But people are always sneaking things in, little blades or poisons, or it's of course, even if you place restrictions on it, people are going to find ways around it. So I was taken by surprise quite often. I'm just glad I'm still alive. Louis was very fond of needles, and he was an expert in manipulating these very small needles that could basically be hidden sort of under a fingernail usually, that could be very deadly. So there were quite a few weapons, but they were concealed.
That time that you had a number of meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, who, when you met him 10 years ago, he was convicted of soliciting prostitution from minors. What did you know about him when you were meeting with him, as you've said yourself, in the hopes of raising money?
I had dinners with him. I regret doing that. He had relationships with people he said would give to global health, which is a interest I have. Not nearly enough philanthropy goes in that direction. Those meetings were a mistake. They didn't result in what he purported, and I cut them off. That goes back a long time ago now. So there's nothing new on that.
It was reported that you continued to meet with him over several years, and that, in other words, a number of meetings. What did you do when you found out about his background?
Well, I've said I regretted having those dinners, and there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead, so in general, you always have to be careful.
Well, he's dead, so, in general, you always have to be careful.
And, I'm very proud of what we've done in philanthropy, very proud of the work of the foundation. That's what I get up every day and focus on.
Are you aware that a one world religion headquarters was officially inaugurated on February 16th, 2023 to provide a global place of worship for all? It's called the Abrahamic Family House, and it's funded by the United Arab Emirates government. It's called the Arabic Family House because Abraham is traditionally considered to be the first Jew and to have made a covenant with God. But Judaism, Islam, and Christianity all recognize and embrace Abraham as their first prophet. And that's why they are called the Abrahamic religions. On their website, they state these words, quote, "The Abrahamic Family House welcomes people to connect, explore, and reflect. We serve to deepen understanding of our common humanity through mutual dialogue, exchange of knowledge, and the practice of faith. We offer robust programs featuring scholars and thought leaders from around the world," end quote. And again, as you read these, it's soothing, it sounds inclusive, it sounds peaceful, it sounds like forward thinking. But what is obviously missing from the URI? What is missing from the Abrahamic Family House? What is missing from all of these global entities that are promoting interfaith dialogue? I'll tell you what is missing. You'll never hear John 14:6, where Jesus said, "I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father but by me." You'll never hear Acts chapter 4, verse 12, where the Bible said, "Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is no other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved." The Bible does not allow for interfaith dialogue in the sense of promoting the view that there are multiple paths that eventually all lead to God.
Who's gonna tell you when it's too late? Who's gonna tell you things aren't so great? You can't go on thinking nothing's wrong. Who's gonna drive you home?